That's right. That just came out of this. Oh yeah. Let's dive in. Hey, so welcome back everybody to the garage. No, it's the office. And as you can tell, this is not a lawnmower. At least I don't think it is. It kind of sounds like one when you start it up from far away. It's kind of loud, but that's how these work. Anyway, what I'm going to show here is something that a lot of people who are fans of these types of machines have been waiting for a long time. And that is a Sound Blaster clone with full ad-lib OPL3 compatibility. Yeah, for the low price of $129 from Texelec. These guys have been doing some amazing, magical work over there, especially for us IBM PS2 Microchannel architecture fans. So I'm going to dive into this, and we're going to take a look at this card, and I'm going to go over some of the perils and pitfalls. There weren't too many of them with actually getting this thing set up. Part of it was just the way this machine in particular was configured. And yeah, this right here is the card in question. Okay. Resound New Wave MCA. Okay. Complete with game adapter joystick port and line out. Now, if you go on Kevin's website at Texelec, you'll look in the description of this, and there's a few points to go over. Number one, basically kind of saying, hey, this thing is new, it's somewhat custom built, reverse engineered, blah, 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 blah. It's based on the Sound Blaster MCV, which is a CT 5320, I believe. There was also an MCV Pro. This is not really cloned after that. But with that said, it's an excellent card. He does make some, Kevin at Texelec does make some disclaimers about that. But if you go on the website, when you're purchasing the card, okay, he does supply the ADF, automatic documentation, whatever file, that is used with the reference disk when you install this in the system, so that it will configure itself and set itself up, right? He also provides a link to Ardent Tool of Capitalism, which is a website for machines of this nature. Provides a lot of information and a lot of old driver files. The driver files that you want to obtain are the zipped files for the CT 5320, not Sound Blaster MCV, not the Pro, not the 5330. The 5320 is what you want. Those zip files will contain the disk images for the installs. I believe they were on a 720K format, but I was able to get the images on, I think I had a 720K disc laying around. I was able to image it, but that wasn't too big of a deal. On this card, I also went ahead and was very surprised that there was this bracket when it was sent in the mail. Now, on his website, he's detailing how it's been kind of a monumental pain in the butt to get a working 3D bracket printed for these cards, and MCA cards in particular. And it was kind of noted that, hey, since a billion of these had token ring adapters and they're literally useless today, you can take those brackets off, modify them, bolt them, and then you'll have a bracket for the back of the machine. So I was really surprised and happy that when I got this, it already had a 3D printed bracket on here. As far as this rear bracket, I took that off of one of the useless network cards that I had laying around, right? And they're all pretty universal, and it just popped right in there. So there's not a whole lot to this card. We don't have you know, MIDI headers or mic inputs or, you know, potentiometers for a speaker output or anything like that. But we do have that Yamaha chip right there, that OPL3 genuine hot. Yeah, that's the good stuff. So that was fantastic. So all you folks out there, and I would just like to say I did scour YouTube a little bit and some other places, and I cannot find any current YouTube review videos of that particular card. I'm sure LGR and other folks like that with their impeccable mastery of video editing and creating top-notch videos will come around with one sooner than later, and you know, they'll get 500,000 views, and I'll stick with my 1,500 or so, and you know, the world will continue to go as it is. But at least I can say I was the first. So the other thing that I picked up from Texelec that I thought was awesome, there have been other videos on this, is, let's see if I can get in there, this guy right here. So this is an adapter for the PS2 that allows you to use basically any run-of-the-mill crap floppy disk drive, throw it in here, because the original drives in these go bad a lot, and they have been plagued with many problems. From what I know and what I've been able to tell, there's 3 different drives that come on this, 3 different manufacturers, if you will. Alps, Mitsubishi, which I believe tend to be very problematic as well, and then this one that I was able to pick up very luckily, and it's a Sony drive. I haven't seen too many problems with the Sony drives, and this one has worked perfectly. And just at first glance, I don't see a lot of SMD capacitors on this thing, which is kind of a good sign. So hopefully this one stays running. But because of this adapter, it shouldn't be too much of a problem for us anymore. So it's getting to the point where folks trying to get $100, $150, $200 out of one of these drives that, hey, you don't know if it works, you don't know the history of it, you could get it and it could not work, you could get it and it works for a week and then it dies. You know, this alleviates all that. It's about 17 bucks. Same thing for this Sound Blaster clone card. Alright? These guys on eBay for any kind of Sound Blaster compatible cards that go in these machines are wanting between $1,000 and $2,000 for these cards. You know, I and everybody else who's had one of these have always wanted a Sound Blaster compatible card. You know, they've had the AdLib one out for a few years now, that clone, and they get you halfway there. It gets you AdLib compatibility, but any of the Sound Blaster stuff and the digitized sounds and all the sound effects, I mean, you're not going to get it. It's still going to come through this dinky little PC speaker right here. So you were like half there. This gets you all the way there. So this has full AdLib compatibility, and it has the digitized sound and Sound Blaster compatibility. So we're all the way there for 129 bucks. Right here. Right here. So if you're one of those folks trying to get you know, $1,500 out of your old Sound Blaster, I suggest you start trying to offload those or just to give up on it, because I don't know, I have, unless I'm putting this thing in a museum or something, I have no desire to spend that much money on a card just for some, you know, side project that you're screwing around with in your free time because, you know, you have some interest in these machines. It just doesn't make sense. Now, if Kevin at Texelec, if you're watching this video, I think you've done fantastic work with this card. Bravo, absolutely amazing. Same thing with the floppy drives. You're addressing this. This was a huge problem, and now we are saved. All you do is plug this in, slide it in. I had a bracket for the adapter bracket. It bolts right into any floppy drive from an original Alps drive that I had. Okay, slides in. It fits perfectly. I have no issues. This particular drive is an NEC. Just ordered off eBay. It was like 15 bucks. and I just literally popped off the original gray plastic eject button and threw that blue one on there from the Alps drive along with that sled. But Kevin, we need, I think I heard or saw a post somewhere you were working on it, and you're doing God's work, man. But if we can get some kind of adapter for these hard drives, just plug here so that we can put any kind of normal IDE hard drive in here, compact flash solution, something like that, that's fantastic. You know, I've been really lucky with this 160 megabyte drive here. It's still going. It has not died. And it pains me to say, someday it will. It'll die. And, you know, if we can get a solution for that, hey, that's amazing, you know. And then when that comes to fruition, I hope the last thing we really have to worry about on these things is, you know, power supply units. But, you know, I've seen workarounds for that. Basically, you can repair these, or you can gut them, replace them with modern internals, wire them up to that edge connector down there, do some fancy stuff to get the, you know, LED indicators for the power on and the hard drive indicator working, and then you know, I think we would be all good there. So those are the two pieces that I wanted to look at. We also talked about, you know, on one of my prior videos, I was trying to really deck this thing out. I finally got what I was really wanting installed here. Hopefully you can see it. See that blue heat sink there? So I did finally upgrade the processor in this. This is the A16 model of the 8570, right? So this would be the second best model of this Model 70 that you could get, right? Because they did have a B series 486 model that's great, but I haven't been able to find one. This one has the processor complex daughter board deal here on the planer, and they did sell official IBM 486 upgrades. You're never going to find one of those either. You're never going to find a Blue Lightning chip. You're never going to find this stuff. It's winning the lottery. It's not going to happen. So I wanted to upgrade this thing. What I did, found a Cyrix 486 DRX2 2550. So this was a 25 megahertz machine. This is a 486 that clock doubles from 25 to 50 megahertz. So it's now a 50 megahertz machine. So we doubled the speed, and it added 1 kilobyte of onboard cache, level 1. So, you know, I ran some benchmarks just to give you an idea. The most notable ones. So in SI8, it was a score of 26.7. When I dropped in the processor upgrade, it went to 28.9. A little bit, nothing that great. Once I enabled the level 1 cache, that 1 kilobyte cache, it jumped to 63.4. So we over doubled from the 386 that was in there. You know, 3D bench, we went from 5.8 to 8.0. Speed sys, we went from 3.55 to 5.46. But the most drastic one was SI8. But either way, you can find those things. I mean, they're not everywhere, but you can find them. I found mine from a guy at CPU World. I think I paid like 40 bucks for it. And part of that, you know, I think he was in Europe, so a little bit of that was shipping. It took a little while, but I got it. Because a lot of those are in 3366 or 20, maybe 1632. The 2550 was a little bit more difficult for me to come by, but I did come by it. So that's where we're at. Now, let's get to the fun stuff. And turn this thing on. Because we had a lot of issues getting the Windows drivers on this thing to work. As you know, DOS doesn't necessarily need drivers for most games. I haven't really come across many that did. You pretty much run the game, it'll detect, you might have to make some settings, and you know, it is what it is. Windows, on the other hand, does need drivers. I was not able to get anything working. I was getting ready to pull my hair out and just be like, okay, well, I'm just going to call it a loss. At least it kind of works. It's working in DOS, whatever. Well, lo and behold, I finally just said, you know what? Maybe it's this version of Windows. I had this thing running Windows for Workgroups 3.11. When I installed the drivers from Creative for what that card is a clone of, every time it would start, right, before it even got to the program manager loading, it would say divide by 0 or overflow stack error. Halt the system, kick you out of Windows, you were done. Every time. So I had to go in the Windows INI file and delete those drivers out so that I could get Windows to start back up. I was trying all kinds of different versions of these drivers, I was trying different install methods, I was trying all this stuff. Always get the same error. Couldn't even run Windows with those drivers loaded. So I had the crazy idea a lot of this was referencing Windows 3.1 or Windows 3.11, not Windows for Workgroups 3.11. And I just went ahead and downgraded the system to Windows 3.1, right? Set the drivers back up, they ran flawlessly, bada bing, bada boom, everything worked fine. Yeah, so just for proof, actually, make sure it's plugged in the speaker. Can you believe you're hearing it out of that thing? Wow. Yeah. Again. That just did that. I know. It sounds pretty good too. So yeah, that was the ticket. Make sure you have Windows 3.1, Windows 3.11. Just, I don't know. Your mileage may vary, but Windows for Workgroups was not working at all. But let's get into some of the other fun stuff. I didn't really have any kind of conflict issues, but I did set this to IRQ 7. It's set to 5 by default. When you're setting it up with the reference disk, you can kind of choose what IRQs and memory address, and the DMA is stuck at 1. It will not, there's nothing you can do but have it at 1. That's a design piece of that particular card. So let's try out a few of your standard type games, just so we can demo the DOS effectiveness. Somebody could always explain to me why that's always lower than the actual conventional memory I do have. I've got like 500 kilobytes free. Okay, you hear that ad-lib. You'll see in here the sound effects, ad-lib, sound blaster, digitized sound, sound blaster, ad-lib, sound blaster. Cheat code here. Now you notice when I opened the door, you heard the full digitized sound, and then you heard that one. Okay, I've noticed with some sound cards, depending on conflicts and issues in the brand, you'll hear the first part of the door opening and then it stops. So you hear that clunk clunk and then it stops. This you hear the full sound. Where's that Nazi? There we go. Come on. Yeah, there you go. We got another one right here. Yep. You're dead. Okay, here's another piece where sometimes certain sound blasters, you push to move one of these and you'd maybe hear a split second of the digitized sound and then it would cut. This, you hear that, you get the full sound. So we're good here. All right, let's try Doom. Now Doom was a little bit tricky. I did have to mess with Doom to get it to actually work, not only just with the sound, but to get it to actually start with the sound, right? So it's still a little quirky, but it works flawlessly once it's started up. You download a file called, let's see here, what is it called? DOS32A, okay? And with DOS32A, it will supplement and it will not use DOS 4GW, which is the older version of what, you know, kicks the Doom exe file off. So that, for some reason, allows it to work with this sound card. Sometimes you have to run the original Doom with 4GW, let it error out, and then run Doom with DOS32A, and then it will work flawlessly. What I did is I just created a batch file that basically says, hey, run DOS32A and then Doom, but I only have to type Doom and then it'll work. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the original Doom, which I renamed Doom 4GW, and show you it'll error and kick out, and then I run that batch file and then it will work. So let's do that now. Let's see here. We'll try to load. Yep, and that's what happens. Transfer stack overflow on interrupt OFH, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Point is, it crashed. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run Doom, that batch file I created. It runs 32A and then runs Doom. Oh, what is that? Sounds like sound in the background with Doom here. Oh, are those sound effects? I think they are. And I will say, this really wasn't playable before I did this processor upgrade. Now I would say it is more than playable, which is fantastic for one of these machines. I mean, you can see it's moving pretty good. At least it's playable enough for me. When I was a kid, I definitely would have taken this no issue. we have all of our sounds, we got all of our music. The volumes sound great, you know, it's not like the FX sound is like overbearing and... Kill that dude. It's not like it's overbearing and then the music's really quiet or vice versa. I mean, everything is pretty well balanced. I mean, I adjusted them just a little bit, but that's kind of for my preference. Okay, so we have Doom working. Doom was the most problematic, quirky game. Let's do another few. I don't know if anybody remembers this game. That sounds like pretty good ad-lib to me. You hear the digitize sound? Yep. There you go. See? I really just think ad-lib. I mean, some people, it takes them back to DOS games. It does me a little bit, nostalgia-wise, but it really sounds like Sega Genesis a lot to me. Okay. Let's do another old school. We got enough memory. Yep, we do. Oh, look at that! Crazy ad-lib. Screw those guys on eBay, wanting $1,500 for a sound card for one of these things, yeah. That takes you back down at the Oregon Trail. Alright, so we got that. How about a little Commander Keen? Hear that? I'm not very good at this game. As you can tell, I died like 3 times with 1 life right there. That's pretty impressive. Point is, that sound works. Yeah, I'll quit. And finally, how about this? What's coming up? Oh, what is that? That's SimCity 2000. Complete with sound effects and ad-lib. I'm an amazing mayor. Just so you know. Let's see. Property max is 7%. Let's crank those up to some New York. Maybe some California. Yeah, 20% is the highest it goes. Man, you can tell this game's old. New York and California needed to be way higher than that. Why do they boo when you raise taxes? I don't get it. I don't get it. I thought everybody loves high taxes. There we go. Yeah, and the amazing part is it's working on this machine. You know, that is in part to this video card. I got this XGA2 in there. Now, it took a little bit to get this going, so there's two things. In the DOS version for SimCity 2000, there's an IBM Visa driver folder, okay, subdirectory. And there's two files in there. The first one you load is a TSR that makes that XGA2 Visa compliant. And then you'll run that one and you'll run SimCity and all the colors will be completely jacked up. It'll look like tie-dye. It's ridiculous. There's another one in there you need to load, and it's called XGA Palette. It's an XGA palette that corrects all the colors so that it obviously looks normal like this. Once you have both of those, everything will be good, and you can play this. And I can tax the crap out of my citizens. There we go. Okay. So that's about all I've got for this. My feelings on it. I think really that it's fantastic. It's everything that we could want for one of these machines. It's really sticking it to those guys that think these things are worth $2,000 or whatever ridiculous price. And you know, it gives us full sound compatibility and really opens these machines up to the point where, hey, you don't have to look at PS2s as crap that you really don't want to mess with for vintage gaming. They're getting there. And you know, this one is from when I was a kid, and I've got it all fixed up now to where it's pretty fun, you know, just to play around with it. I always wanted sound. Always wanted sound in this thing. Never had it. Finally do. You know, the video card was just kind of a bonus. Found one for cheap on eBay, so threw it in there, and I think that was a great addition. And then, you know, the fact that Texelec also has these floppy adapters. Now, he did state on his website that the first batch were having some issues, right, with these floppy adapters. And I believe he made an adjustment to this resistor pack on here. Well, let's see if I can keep the camera from flopping and killing people. This right here, I think that he adjusted the values on that to something less aggressive, and the second batch is fine. But he did notate that for some reason he felt that these would not work with original IBM drives. I can state from my personal experience, both of these work at the same time perfectly fine in this machine, and I have zero issues. Now, that's not to state that you will have that. That could be because of this Sony drive, and maybe it doesn't play well with the Alps and the Mitsubishis, but I have had no problems running both of these at the same time. But that's just a word of caution. Either way, I think it's absolutely fantastic that we can now get around the fact that the original drives are dying and crapping out at an alarming rate. I've had two Alps drives. I've tried to recap them. I'm 0 for 2. I put fresh caps on them, check continuity, everything's great. Still nothing. You know, they're kind of a pain. But, you know, next thing to go on this is a memory expansion card to get this thing up to maybe 16 megabytes of RAM. I've got the card, I've got the files, I've got everything to be able to set it up. Now I just got to track down the actual memory to put into the card, and that's proving to be quite difficult. So if any of my friends out there who are watching this would happen to know, a little bit older and geekier than I am, and could tell me where to find some memory that would work in one of the IBM 386 enhanced memory adapters, that would be fantastic, because all the ones I have are not working. They're probably too big or too new. But yeah, I haven't really been able to track any down for a reasonable price. I'm not spending $100 on memory per module for one of these things. So that's about it. That's about all I've got. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about how I got this set up, or anything else about the card or the adapters or anything else with this setup. Thanks again to Texelec. You guys are doing amazing work, really helping the community of enthusiasts for these machines, really bring them up to speed and make this stuff fun without, you know, gouging people and taking advantage of the rarity of certain stuff when it comes to these machines. So that's about all I've got. Again, thanks for watching. Next video will probably be back in the garage with an actual lawnmower. I've got another push mower from the junk pile, and I think I've got all the parts that I've scrounged up in my parts bin to hopefully get that thing running and working. It is a nightmare, it is a mess, so it'll be quite the video. Look forward to seeing what you guys think on this though, and like I said, let me know in the comments. Thanks and have a good one.